This is John for the Patch and Johngy's Beat. This morning, I have the pleasure of being on the beat with Miss Krystle, singer, songwriter, entertainment lawyer, and probably a lot more. We're going to find out all about that. Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here. I know you're busy, I got so many notes here. I just want to jump right in.
Let's
Now,
do
I
it.
introduced you as a singer, songwriter, attorney. That's an interesting combination. I'm going to assume the music part came first.
It did come first, and it's still first priority. Funny enough, music has
Tell us
just
a little bit.
always
How
been my
did you get
passion.
started in the music industry?
Yeah, so my mom, she's from New Zealand, so we're all little Kiwis over here. But she came over to the United States. She ended up meeting my dad, and then she moved here. And so part of my education, because I was homeschooled with my siblings, and so part of our education included classical music training, which is what my mom had studied in New Zealand. So music was just a huge part of my life. And then I found in my early teens that I just loved writing music, figuring out my own kind of voice and lyrics, and utilizing what I knew as far as piano. And I, learned cello and violin and a couple other things. So just basically putting it all together to figure out how to express myself. So classical background turned into becoming a singer, songwriter, and producer.
So, even with your classical background, even with all that background, how did you know that you could actually make a living of it, make a career of it?
I didn't know. I just knew that I needed to do it.
Okay.
It's funny because I kind of say, trying to have a sustainable career in the music business is one of the hardest things you will ever do. And this is saying from the perspective of someone who went to law school, who needed to become an attorney, and all these things, and the difficulty of figuring out a sustainable career is really, really up there. And so that's kind of why I dedicated what I do with my Top Music Attorney podcast, the YouTube channel. Like, everything is about teaching people all of the industry secrets that I've learned. So basically, just to cut to the chase and figure out how we can actually build ourselves as music businesses to 5 and 6 figure sustainable businesses, which is, it was my goal, and I did it, but I did it through all the wrong ways. So I'm trying to just, make it easy for my students.
So, when did young Miss Krystle, the musician, start to think about adding to, I guess, the attorney?
So the attorney idea came into play because my mom suggested it. And I remember telling her I've always really valued academics and learning. And I go, what's the toughest thing that I could do academically? And that's, for me, it was becoming a doctor or a lawyer. And so I'm chatting with my mom. This was before a cello lesson. And she goes, I could just see you as an attorney stomping around the courtroom. She goes, you'd be great. And I go, you're right, I would be. And so kind of at that moment when I was 16, I'm like, I think I'll just go to law school. Makes sense. I can learn to protect myself in my music career. So I had no intention of ever actually practicing or becoming an attorney. But nonetheless, that was something I was like, let's just do it.
So, I could totally see how the attorney and the law end would help your musical career. How would you say has the music career helped you in your attorney field?
I think it ended up helping my law firm. My law firm is Delgado Entertainment Law. And when I started it initially, I was very well known in my states just because I, networked and done a lot as a creator, which was great. And so from that, I was able to kind of catapult a client base with my law firm because all my friends who were music producers and filmmakers and all the creative types needed help. Now, the transition that had to, happen at some point is that all your friends want help for free. But then I figured out how to actually grow and build a real business. So what I found was just being in the community and being networked really, really helped as far as me being a business owner and a lawyer.
And obviously, I came across you on social media. You've got a few different social media sites, one of which is your attorney business. You don't have the typical attorney site. I mean, there's nothing wrong with it.
I don't. And it's totally a byproduct of what I've done for Miss Krystle. So my one vertical of socials is just Miss Krystle, which is tailored more so to what I do creatively. And then the other stuff is for Top Music Attorney, which is just all the attorney stuff. And what I found is that in all of my efforts to figure out how to market Miss Krystle, I learned how to market the law stuff and just to be okay with having content that didn't need to necessarily be super brainy and boring, and just to be like, I want to put out stuff that is related to being an attorney that's educational, that is fun, and that's entertaining.
Well, I found it fascinating. I mean, with no offense, I mean, I have no need for an attorney right now, at least, but I get a lot of interesting things from your attorney site as well. A lot of things I didn't know, even if I don't need them, I find them very interesting. And I think together with your sites are just a lot of good information and a lot of entertainment, certainly.
Yeah, I think professionals feel a need to show how professional they are by really flexing their knowledge muscle, which is great. If you can give people a ton of value, it builds confidence, then maybe some of those people who follow you will hire you later. But for, as well as, I think it's okay to also show that you have a different side to you. And that actually gets people to know you a little bit better. So if you want to do content that shows your funny side or a more deep emotional side, or if you're kind of into different things and you want to share that, that's all okay. And I think people put themselves into narrow lanes unnecessarily.
That's exactly what I was trying to get to, and you summed it up much better than I did. It was exactly my thought, and I think it drew me into you. It drew me into you, and then I followed all your sites and where it led me to here. Well, I want to ask you a little bit about your music. I love your music. I'm an older guy. I admit I don't love a lot of the music probably after the year 2000, but I really love your music. And that's another reason that drew me to this interview. I love your covers and I love your original stuff. I want to really hone in on one of your covers first, though. God only knows that you said I believe I quoted you as saying that that's the perfect song. Why is that the perfect song? Why did you choose to cover that song?
Well, I mean, such a classic. I mean, it's one of the most well-written songs that has just kind of sustained, time and space and everything. It's just, an amazing song. So it was more me with covers in general, trying to give a little tribute to some of these just prolific artists and bands. And, hopefully I did it justice.
No, I was going to say.
It's just kind of, why I've chosen the song selection that I have to date.
No, I was going to say that I love that song. It's as you said, it's one of my top probably 10 songs that I love. And I was a little hesitant because it's a perfect song. And I'm like, okay, I'll be interested to see how she does it. Your version was like mesmerizing to me, a little bit haunting, a little bit mesmerizing, fascinating. I think you more than did it justice. I'm surprised at how much I actually liked a different version of it.
Hey, I dig it. No, it's always very flattering if someone ever says, oh, I liked your version just as much as the original, or, some people go over the top. They're like, way more than the original. But in any case, it's more about, number one, doing justice to, the song, but then really trying to convert it into something new. So I try to cross over genres, if that makes sense. So I do dark pop. So my interpretation of a lot of songs that I cover is a dark pop version, which is typically pretty different. And for anyone watching this and wants, the tip when it comes to doing cover songs, that's actually one of the best ways to market your cover song is by doing it in a different genre, because it seems, and it is, unique.
You just led me into two of my next questions. First of all, in dark pop is the perfect way to describe your songs. Some of them are so mesmerizing. They're so like poetry. And it's very few musical artists that I could really feel like the flow of the poetry. Some of your songs, like one of your favorites of mine, and I've got a few of them written down. I love I Don't Cry. I love that song. I love Cruel Summer.
Okay.
Beautiful songs, beautiful songs.
Thank you. And I'll tell you what, real quick. So Bananarama obviously is the original creator of Cruel Summer, and I've redone that like 2 different times. I love it so much. And I Don't Cry is actually an original song that I wrote during my first year of law school.
Well, whether you're writing a song or covering a song, how do you know when it's done? How do you know when you're done with it and this is the product I want to put out there?
You need to develop the discipline to let something go before it's done. I think that a song is never done. I think that years after you listen to it again, you'll be like, oh my gosh, I could have tried this, or I could have sung it like that. But for me, you have to kind of let it go when you feel it's at a point that's presentable, because otherwise you just, ruminate and keep reworking things to death. And sometimes you rework it to its detriment. So for me, it's actually a discipline of knowing it's at a point where I know it's good and it's ready to be released, and then to be proud of it and to really again just kind of embrace this is what it was. This was the art piece at that moment.
Well, I've been binge diving on Spotify and your songs the last couple of weeks, and I just absolutely love them. Another question I had, you mentioned the advice that you give, and you give free advice. And in this age of social media, when everybody's on an OnlyFans page or everybody's got a this page or that page where there's different paid platforms, why have you chosen to give out so much free advice?
I mean, there's two parts of it. I think that you can obviously just do something good and just help someone, and that always feels good. And at the end of the day, we're all going to die, and so we might as well contribute back, right? And so, a big driver for me was the pain and frustration of what I went through, and to help people avoid that. And it feels amazing when I have my students who are doing really good and they're taking my courses on how to build their music businesses and they're just crushing it. So one is just kind of like a legacy piece, which isn't the right word for it, but that's kind of the driver. And then the other side of it is that it's just good business, right? So me giving out some of my best advice helps to build the credibility of what I do, right? And then, that has led to let's say business, right? So clients who say, oh, I think that you might be a good fit for my project. And so there's always a positive, result when you kind of put yourself out there and you give information for free. And even if it doesn't result in clients or business, again, it still just kind of puts some good back into the world for a minute.
So what is next for you? Do you have any projects in the works?
We are working on the next release. So the first song from my upcoming album, it's called Secret, and that's now out on all music platforms, just under Miss Krystle. And then we have the second single coming out next month. And in fact, we just spoke with the distributor. It is February 10th that the next song is going to drop. So we're working on a music video. We're working on all the things.
Always
so
busy.
Excited. Yeah.
Now, one last question. When you were younger, you started a charity. Would you like to talk a little about that?
Yeah, so Young Ones United is a charitable organization. We're based in Arizona, and I started that when I was 16. And we, to date, have focused on a mission of child abuse prevention and awareness. And, it's interesting, we've been around for a long time. We've done a lot of activities, helped a lot of kids. We have a scholarship program. We have like Adopt a Family, for the holidays. So there's a lot of cool things that we're doing. And we're currently in talks of kind of evolving the mission a little bit into, more of youth empowerment. So anyway, we're doing cool things, and there'll definitely be, more announcements, which I'm sure will be on just all my socials anyway.
Will you ever write your autobiography?
Oh, goodness. It's funny. I looked up the definition of memoir, and then I also had to look up how to say it yesterday for a client thing. But in any case, I was like, it's something that is written about someone typically in their life and their whatever. And I go, I think a lot of people do, autobiographies. Now, the answer is no. I have no plan of doing anything like that. My plan, though, is I have a book that I released a couple of years ago, How to Keep Your Dukes Up in the Music Business. And I'm excited to do an updated version of that for 2023. There's obviously a lot of information that just, that we can add and change. And I just feel like my way of communicating with those in the music business and my students has also changed. So I'm just excited to get that new book going, and we're working on it.
And when you have a few minutes of free time, because I know you're very busy, what do you do to just get away from everything?
Yeah, that's something I'm working on real hard. I actually took up meditation, funny enough, because it's something that I've tried for years and I just couldn't do it. And I'm finding that looking at meditation through neuroscience, right? So from a neuroscientific standpoint of why meditation is so great and why we should do it has really resonated with me. So as a real kind of way to detach, shut off the brain for, 10, 15, 20 minutes a day. That's something that's literally very helpful for me these days. And then, outside of that, hiking, getting some sun, basic things.
The usual.
Yeah.
Before I let you go, is there any place you'd like to tell your fans, your new people watching, where they could find all your information online?
Yeah, people who are interested in learning about the music business and how to build their own music businesses, which is kind of, the main focus for me, go to YouTube, just search Top Music Attorney. And so on the channel, we do a ton of like literal, these are the steps you need to take to build your LLC, that kind of thing. But we also cover things like entertainment news, what's going on in the world, why does it matter? So the YouTube channel is a really great place to start. And then from there, obviously, we're on all the social media platforms. And then on the music side, if anyone's in the mood for some dark pop music, just search Miss Krystle on all music platforms.
Miss Krystle, I really appreciate your time. I think you're a fascinating person. I was originally drawn in by your music. Then, of course, I learned about your lawyer side. I learned about your charity side. I learned about all the things you're doing. You're such a positive person. I really appreciate your time. I wish you good luck, and I'll be following and I'll be listening and waiting for your next music bit.
You're awesome. Can't wait to do this again, John.
Thank you very much. You have a great day.
You too.